On the overcast morning of December 19th, 2019, an armada of unmarked vehicles carrying Texas Rangers and Federal Bureau of Investigation agents descends upon a suburban home in Jersey Village, a humid enclave just northwest of Houston. Law enforcement officials are searching for 33-year-old Heidi Broussard and her 3-week-old infant daughter Margot, who vanished from Austin exactly 1 week prior. Inside the residence, agents secure a healthy baby girl cradled by a man who trusts he is her biological father. Expedited deoxyribonucleic acid testing will soon shatter his reality, confirming this infant is actually the missing Margot Carey. Outside, the search for her mother comes to a grinding halt on the concrete driveway of that very same property. Investigators pry open the trunk of a parked gray Nissan Versa. A heavy, unmistakable odor wafts into the winter air. Detectives peer inside the cramped cargo space and make a grim discovery concealed within a dark duffel bag. The homeowner, Manjan Firamuska, is taken into custody, unraveling a labyrinth of psychological deception and lethal betrayal orchestrated by a supposed best friend. A full decade before the tragedy unfolded in that Houston driveway, the seeds of a profound friendship took root under the canopy of a Christian youth camp in Texas. Heidi Broussard and Manjan Firamuska met as young women and forged a bond that seemed unbreakable. Over the years, their lives diverged geographically. Heidi established her roots in Austin, a vibrant city nestled within the rolling topography of the Texas Hill Country. Mag settled in the sprawling concrete expanse of the Houston metropolitan area. Despite the 3-hour drive separating them along Highway 290, the two women maintained a constant digital and emotional connection. Heidi was known throughout her local community as a radiant, loyal woman whose entire world revolved around her family. She doted on her young son, Silas, and built a stable, loving household with her fiancé, Shane Carey. Her days were filled with the familiar, comforting rhythms of motherhood, from school drop-offs to quiet evenings in their ground-floor apartment complex in South Austin. She viewed Mag not just as a friend, but as a surrogate sister. In the early months of the year 2019, Heidi announced to her inner circle that she was expecting her second child. The news brought a wave of celebration to the Carey household. Shortly after this announcement, Maine presented a surprising revelation of her own. She informed Heidi and the rest of their friend group that she was also pregnant, claiming she conceived right around the same time. This supposed coincidence allowed the two women to bond on an intimate level over their shared journey into motherhood. They exchanged daily text messages comparing baby bumps, shared ultrasound photographs, and discussed their matching due dates. Heidi embraced the synchronicity, envisioning a future where their children would grow up as close companions. She confided her deepest hopes and anxieties to Mage, blind to the fact that the woman on the other end of the telephone was crafting an intricate, malicious illusion. Monique lacked the biological reality of a pregnancy. Her swelling abdomen was a calculated physical prop, constructed to deceive her ex-boyfriend Christopher Green and everyone else in her orbit. The facade Maine maintained required immense dedication and an unwavering commitment to deception. She wore specialized padding to mimic the physical progression of carrying a child to term. She created a fictional registry, selected names, and prepared a nursery inside her Jersey Village home. The primary target of this psychological manipulation was Christopher, a man who shared a complicated romantic history with Mage and lived under the same roof. Mon utilized the fabricated pregnancy as a tool to anchor him in her life, creating a powerful sense of obligation and familial duty. As the autumn months approached, the timeline of the deception grew thin. A phantom pregnancy inevitably demands a tangible child at the end of the 9-month term. Rather than confessing the elaborate scheme, Meighen fixed her gaze on the life growing inside her best friend. On November 26, 2019, Heidi went into labor and arrived at an Austin hospital to deliver a healthy baby girl named Margot. The delivery room became the ultimate stage for the unfolding trap. The moment Heidi entered the hospital, Manga mobilized. She drove the 160 miles from Houston to Austin, determined to interject herself into the most vulnerable moments of her friend's life. Mangai secured a position directly inside the delivery room, standing near the medical staff as Heidi labored. When Margaret took her first breaths, Megan stood close by, observing the infant with intense focus. Hospital photographs from that day capture a chilling tableau. Mang holds the newborn baby, her expression serene, while Heidi rests exhausted in the hospital bed just inches away. To the nursing staff and the grieving family looking back on those images, Maga appeared as a supportive companion, providing comfort during a monumental life event. In reality, a predator had infiltrated the sanctuary of a maternity ward. Mai intimately participated in the birth of the exact child she intended to claim as her own. She memorized the infant's features, noted the feeding schedule, and calculated the physical layout of Heidi's apartment before returning to Houston to finalize a dark, permanent solution. On the brisk morning of December 12, 2019, the routine of the Carey household began exactly as it had countless times before. The sun had barely risen over the oak trees lining their South Austin neighborhood when Heidi prepared her son, Silas, for his day of classes. She bundled newborn Margot into a car seat and drove the short, familiar route to Cowan Elementary School. The physical geography of this morning commute is a crucial anchor in the timeline. The elementary school sits roughly 3 miles from Heidi's apartment complex on West William Cannon Drive, a busy commercial artery flanked by residential subdivisions. Surveillance cameras mounted near the school entrance captured Heidi and the baby arriving at approximately 7:50 in the morning. The footage shows a devoted mother executing her daily responsibilities, oblivious to the threat converging on her location. After dropping Silas off, Heidi navigated her vehicle back through the morning commuter traffic. Law enforcement officials believe she arrived back at her ground floor apartment shortly after 8 o'clock in the morning. This return trip marks the final verified moment Heidi Brassard was ever seen alive. The hours stretched into the afternoon, and the bustling apartment complex remained quiet under the pale winter sun. At roughly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Shane Carey concluded his shift at work and drove back to the residence he shared with Heidi. He approached their ground floor unit and noticed an immediate, unsettling anomaly. The front door of the apartment was unlocked. Shane pushed the door open and stepped into the living room, greeted only by silence. He conducted a quick visual sweep of the space. Heidi's car remained parked in its designated spot in the asphalt lot, just outside their window inside the home. Shane found her purse resting on a counter. Her identification, her bank cards, and the baby's diaper bag sat undisturbed in their usual places. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, and no shattered glass to indicate a forced entry. Shane reasoned with himself, assuming Heidi had simply walked newborn Margot over to a neighbor's unit for a brief visit. He unpacked his belongings and waited, expecting his fiancée to walk through the unlocked door at any moment. The fragile sense of normalcy shattered just hours later. As the clock neared the end of the school day, the telephone rang inside the apartment. An administrator from Cowan Elementary School was on the line, delivering a message that sent a cold wave of dread through Shane. Silas was waiting in the front office, and no one had arrived to pick him up. Heidi was a punctual mother who never neglected her son's schedule. A missed school pickup, combined with the abandoned purse and the vehicle sitting idle in the parking lot, signaled a catastrophic deviation from her routine. Shane rushed out the door, secured Silas from the elementary school, and returned to the apartment complex to canvass the area. He knocked on neighbors' doors, scoured the communal spaces, and dialed Heidi's cellular telephone, only to be routed directly to a generic voicemail greeting. At approximately 7:30 in the evening, the sheer gravity of the situation consumed him. Shane dialed the emergency dispatch number and connected with the Austin Police Department. He officially reported his fiancée and his 3-week-old daughter missing, triggering a frantic law enforcement response that would soon grip the entire state of Texas. While patrol officers converged on the Austin apartment complex to secure the perimeter and initiate their preliminary interviews, a different scenario played out miles away. Down the darkened stretch of Interstate 10, Majin Fieramusca drove back into the Houston area. She pulled her gray Nissan Versa into the driveway of the Jersey Village residence she shared with Christopher Green. Maag walked through the front door carrying a newborn infant wrapped in blankets. She presented the child to Christopher, fabricating a story designed to explain her sudden absence that morning. Mane claimed she had experienced rapid labor pains, driven herself to an undisclosed birthing center, and delivered their baby without him present. She held out little Margot, offering the child to a man who had spent the last 9 months anticipating this exact moment. Christopher accepted the infant blind to the true identity of the child resting in his arms. He marveled at the new life in his home, oblivious to the fact that the actual mother of the baby lay concealed just steps away. The ultimate truth remained hidden behind the heavy steel trunk lid of the vehicle parked outside, waiting for the investigators to arrive. The inexplicable disappearance of a devoted mother and her newborn infant triggers a massive synchronized response from law enforcement. Detectives from the Austin Police Department establish a localized command center, while agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Texas Rangers arrive to provide specialized resources. The sprawling West William Cannon Drive apartment complex transforms into a grid of yellow tape and search teams. Investigators face a chilling, sterile crime scene devoid of forced entry, overturned furniture, or defensive marks. In the absence of immediate physical clues, the intense glare of public scrutiny and the relentless speculation of amateur internet sleuths pivot toward Shane Carey. Shane stands in front of local television cameras, his face flushed and his speech fragmented by profound emotional trauma, pleading for the safe return of his family. True crime forums and social media commentators dissect his erratic breathing and disjointed sentences, branding him as the primary suspect. Society demands a simple, familiar narrative, and the defensive posture of a grieving partner fits a well-worn investigative trope. Detectives follow strict protocol and subject Shane to grueling, exhaustive interrogations regarding his daily routine and relationship history. They pull his employment records, analyze his commute times, and verify his location during the crucial morning hours. The rigorous vetting process clears him of all suspicion, proving his alibi is ironclad. This factual dead end forces the Joint Task Force to abandon the predictable domestic angle and cast a much wider invisible net. With traditional physical leads exhausted on the ground, the investigative focus shifts upward to the digital infrastructure looming over the Texas Hill Country. Federal analysts request sweeping data logs from the cellular communication towers surrounding the South Austin neighborhood. Sifting through thousands of anonymous digital handshakes requires grueling, systematic hours of cross-referencing timestamps with known associates. A specific, undeniable anomaly emerges from the endless columns of data, shattering the illusion of a random abduction. The cellular telephone registered to Majin Fieramusca registers a distinct connection to a tower located mere blocks from Heidi's front door. The timestamp of this digital footprint matches the morning of December 12th, occurring shortly after Heidi dropped her son off at Cowan Elementary School. Detectives review their initial interviews and realize the same woman offering profound condolences from a distance was physically present at Ground Zero. Maggie had claimed she was resting in her Houston area home on the day of the disappearance. The unblinking reality of cellular triangulation exposes this alibi as a complete fabrication. Investigators recognize the terrifying implication of this digital presence. The best friend who stood in the delivery room just 3 weeks prior had traveled 160 miles to orchestrate a silent intrusion. Armed with this precise digital coordinate, detectives returned to the physical geography of the apartment complex to hunt for a matching visual record. They conduct a granular sweep of the surrounding commercial and residential properties, seeking private surveillance systems that might have captured the adjacent roadways. A security camera mounted on a neighboring building provides the crucial missing link. Investigators isolate a specific string of frames recorded at exactly 5 minutes past 9 o'clock in the morning on December 12th. The grainy, soundless footage displays a light-colored sedan creeping toward the rear parking area of Heidi's building. Vehicle identification specialists analyze the sloping roofline, the distinct headlight casings, and the rear chassis contour of the mystery automobile. They match the vehicle profile to a gray 2015 Nissan Versa. This exact make and model matches the primary vehicle registered under the name of Magid Firamoska. The invisible cellular data now possesses a heavy metallic anchor, placing Mangaf at the scene during the exact window of vulnerability. Detectives map the blind spots of the complex parking lot, realizing the perpetrator utilized the rear entrance to avoid direct lines of sight. The physical evidence proves the intrusion was not a random crime of opportunity, but rather a calculated, predetermined strike. The momentum of the Joint Task Force surges eastward, expanding the operational theater from the hills of Austin to the humid concrete sprawl of Houston. Cybercrime specialists obtain sweeping search warrants for the internet service providers and electronic devices linked to Mage. They initiate a systematic reconstruction of her web browsing history, peeling back the layers of her digital psychology. The resulting data logs expose a cold, predatory mindset monitoring the fallout of her own actions. On the afternoon, Heidi vanished before the local police drafted a public notice. Meg initiated specific queries regarding emergency broadcasting protocols. She utilized internet search engines to discover the exact legal criteria required for law enforcement to issue a statewide child abduction alert. Later that evening, she typed frantic queries searching for active missing child alerts targeting the Austin area. As the days progressed and the initial silence held, her digital footprint took a far darker turn. Manes searched for local news reports regarding discovered human remains within Central Texas. These targeted inquiries strip away the delicate facade of a worried, grieving friend. The search history reveals an architect of deception, calculating her distance from capture and measuring the speed of the approaching investigators. Relying on the overwhelming weight of the digital and vehicular evidence, federal agents travel down Highway 290 to establish a covert operation in Jersey Village. They map the physical layout of the quiet suburban neighborhood, identifying the exact residential lot where Maine resides. The street is lined with manicured lawns, deep driveways, and towering pine trees that provide ideal cover for unmarked surveillance vehicles. Agents maintain an unbroken round-the-clock watch on the property, documenting every shifting shadow and opening door. They observe Mayday exiting the home, projecting the calm, ordinary demeanor of a new mother running mundane errands. Under the watchful eyes of federal agents, she travels to a local retail store and navigates the aisles with focused precision. She purchases specialized infant formula, diapers, and baby supplies, showing zero signs of the profound panic expected from a woman whose closest confidant remains missing. The pieces of the phantom pregnancy, the Austin cell tower ping, the Nissan Versa, and the infant supplies locked together into a singular, horrifying picture. Investigators realize they are not just looking for a kidnapper on the run. They are observing a predator who has integrated a stolen child into her daily domestic routine. The operation transitions from a missing person search to a high-stakes rescue mission. Before tactical units can breach the Jersey Village residence, the task force requires absolute confirmation regarding the physical presence of the abducted infant. Detectives need an inside source to verify the exact location of the child without triggering a volatile standoff. Investigators intercept Christopher Green outside the perimeter of the home, pulling him aside before he can communicate with Mange. They approach him with caution, evaluating his demeanor and probing his knowledge of the past week. Detectives ask him a series of direct, methodical questions concerning the sudden arrival of his supposed daughter. Christopher cooperates with law enforcement, providing the final devastating piece of the historical timeline. He confirms that Mag returned to their shared home on the evening of December 12th, cradling a newborn infant. He recounts her elaborate narrative of experiencing severe labor pains and delivering the child alone at a holistic birthing center. Christopher speaks with genuine awe and affection for the baby girl he believes is his biological offspring. His profound ignorance of the deception solidifies the reality that Mag operated in total isolation, manipulating the foundational trust of everyone around her. Armed with this definitive witness statement, the Joint Task Force prepares to close the trap and confront the architect of the nightmare. On the overcast morning of December 19, 2019, the surveillance phase transitions into a kinetic tactical strike. The Jersey Village residence sits at the end of a quiet suburban street, flanked by towering pine trees and manicured lawns. The physical distance between the front door and the street is less than 40 feet, providing law enforcement a narrow window for a rapid approach. Heavily armed agents clad in tactical gear form a stack along the brick exterior of the home. They issue sharp, commanding knocks against the heavy wooden door. The sound shatters the neighborhood silence moments later. The door swings inward. Tactical units flub the narrow foyer, sweeping the interior rooms with synchronized precision. They locate Meiji Firamiska inside the central living area. She projects a chilling aura of calm defiance, offering no physical resistance. Detectives secure her wrists in heavy steel handcuffs, halting her calculated masquerade just steps away in the master bedroom. Agents discover a newborn infant resting in a wooden crib. The baby is healthy, wrapped in warm blankets, and oblivious to the chaos surrounding her existence. Medics rush into the room to perform immediate health assessments. As medics secure the infant, investigators confront Christopher Green outside the perimeter of the property. The man stands on the damp concrete sidewalk, bewildered by the sudden invasion of his home. Flashing red and blue lights from unmarked cruisers illuminate his face in rhythmic pulses. Detectives bypass standard pleasantries and deliver the crushing reality of the situation. They inform Christopher that the woman he shares a home with faked a 9-month pregnancy. They explain that the infant sleeping in his bedroom is not his biological offspring. The psychological toll of this revelation is absolute and immediate. Christopher collapses inward, his reality disintegrating under the weight of the facts. He spent the past week feeding, holding, and bonding with a child he believed was his own flesh and blood. Investigators deploy specialized technicians to collect a biological sample from the infant. A technician runs a sterile cotton swab along the inside of the baby's cheek, sealing the sample inside a plastic evidence tube. The chain of custody is established on the sidewalk. The swab is rushed to a state laboratory for an expedited biological comparison against the missing persons database. The genetic markers provide an undeniable match. The child in the Jersey Village home is identified as Margaret Carey, while child protective specialists secure baby Margot. A secondary team of evidence technicians shifts their focus to the exterior of the property. The gray 2015 Nissan Versa sits parked on the concrete driveway, baking under the pale winter sun. The vehicle rests mere feet from the front door where Mange passed by every single day. A heavy, humid breeze sweeps through the suburban street, carrying the ambient noise of distant highway traffic. As investigators step closer to the rear bumper of the sedan, they encounter an undeniable, distinct odor permeating the air. It is the unmistakable scent of human decay. The physical geography of this setup highlights the sheer arrogance of the perpetrator. Maji harbored the ultimate secret just steps from her living room, trusting the mundane appearance of a family vehicle to deflect suspicion. Crime scene technicians establish a secondary perimeter around the car with yellow barricade tape. They document the exterior panels, checking the door handles for fingerprints and biological transfers. An investigator inserts a specialized entry tool into the rear lock mechanism to bypass the internal latch. A heavy metallic click echoes across the concrete driveway. The trunk lid rises. The cargo space of the compact sedan is cramped and suffocating. A dark, oversized canvas duffel bag occupies the center of the trunk compartment. Technicians peer into the shadowed recess and peel back the heavy brass zipper inside. They make a grim, devastating discovery. The lifeless body of Heidi Broussard is concealed within the bag, bringing an agonizing end to the statewide search. The medical examiner is summoned to the scene to conduct a preliminary physical assessment of the remains. Official forensic reports will later confirm that Heidi met a brutal permanent end via Liger strangulation. The formal indictment dictates that Mai utilized a pet leash and her bare hands to extinguish the life of her supposed best friend. The attack was swift, intimate, and carried out with overwhelming force, compressing the airway and ending her future in a matter of minutes. Law enforcement officers march Maine down the driveway and escort her into the rear of a patrol vehicle, sealing the heavy doors shut. The woman who sat in the Austin delivery room mere weeks ago now sits behind reinforced glass. Her elaborate illusion is dismantled. The predator who hid behind a mask of maternal devotion is locked in a steel cage. The successful recovery of baby Margaret initiates a fragile process of healing for a shattered family. Child protective officials transport the 3-week-old infant back across the sprawling expanse of the Texas Hill Country. They travel up Highway 2T90, leaving the concrete sprawl of Houston behind. They arrive in Austin just days before the Christmas holiday. Inside a sterile, secure state facility, Shane Carey wraps his arms around his daughter, overwhelmed by a complex wave of profound relief and agonizing grief. Young Silas is reunited with his infant sister, restoring a fractured piece of his broken childhood. The survival of the child stands as a testament to the rigorous, exhaustive efforts of the joint federal and state task force. Detectives refuse to accept the easy narrative, digging through invisible digital towers to uncover a hidden predator. Yet, the reunion is scarred by the glaring absence of the woman who tied their family together. Heidi Broussard will never again walk through the front door of her ground-floor apartment. She will never drop her son off at Cowan Elementary School or witness her daughter take her first steps. The Carey and Broussard families are left to navigate a vast empty void created by ultimate betrayal. The pursuit of moral justice moves from the streets of Jersey Village to the stern wood-paneled courtrooms of Travis County. A grand jury reviews the overwhelming stack of evidence and hands down a true bill of indictment against Megan Fieramiska. The official legal documents outline charges of kidnapping and capital offenses, carrying the potential for the ultimate state penalty. Prosecutors build an impenetrable wall of digital forensics, cellular tracking data, and undeniable physical evidence recovered from the Nissan Versa. However, the rigid gears of the judicial system grind to a sudden agonizing halt. The global pandemic sweeps across the nation in early 2020, forcing the closure of state and federal courthouses. Trials are postponed without a timeline. Evidentiary hearings are delayed behind plexiglass barriers and administrative red tape. The strict protocols of the Texas legal framework prevent the rapid resolution the grieving family craves. Months stretch into years. The Broussard family endures an extended psychological torture, waiting for a definitive legal conclusion while the woman responsible for their nightmare sits in a county detention center. The systemic delay highlights the grueling reality of the modern justice system, where closure is often held hostage by unforeseen logistical failures. After 3 agonizing years of legal stagnation, the case finally reaches a decisive breaking point in February 2023. The district attorney and defense attorneys negotiate a structured plea agreement designed to bypass a traumatic public trial. Mige stands before a Travis County judge in a quiet, solemn courtroom. She pleads guilty to the first-degree charge involving the fatal abduction of Heidi Broussard. In exchange for this admission of guilt, the state agrees to drop the capital charge. This legal maneuver eliminates the risk of an appellate court overturning a conviction on a procedural technicality years down the line. Mige waives her constitutional right to any future appeals, ensuring the finality of the court record. The judge accepts the plea and hands down a definitive sentence of 55 years in the custody of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. She must serve at least half of that massive sentence before she is eligible to petition a parole board for early release. The architect of this deception will spend the twilight of her life behind cinderblock walls and electrified fences, stripped of the freedom she stole from her friend. The definitive court ruling places an immovable seal on the darkest chapter of this Austin community. Law enforcement officials cement the psychological motive for this calculated plot as maternal desire. It was an obsession so profound and toxic that it drove a woman to extinguish the life of her closest confidant. Manja Fieramusca wore the mask of a normal, supportive friend, leveraging the most sacred bonds of trust to orchestrate a silent intrusion. She weaponized compassion and manipulated the foundation of human empathy to steal a future that did not belong to her. The undeniable facts of the investigation dismantled her web of lies, restoring order to a shattered community. Today, Heidi Broussard is remembered not for the terrifying manner of her departure, but for the fierce, radiant love she poured into her children. Her legacy survives through Silas and Margot, who are surrounded by a protective network of family and friends. The meticulous detective work that spanned from Austin to Houston stands as a masterclass in modern investigative perseverance. Justice was served, locking away a predator and ensuring the true victims are never forgotten.